she'd be saying things to me like, "Oh, you know him where we saw him over there," and I was like, "What? The kids?" Like one of the kids. She can't remember anyone's name. She couldn't remember dates, what she was done, who she was talking about, and I was getting really worried about her.
I'm Anne-Marie McQueen, journalist and proud 50-ish woman, and we are here looking for the true truth in perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and beyond.
Opening our minds to other possibilities is not always easy.
Hotflash Inc.
You're all woman to me. All right, Anne-Marie.
I'm introducing my guest this week. It's Joe Sealey. He's a cast member on The Real Housewives of Cheshire. He is a former footballer in the UK. And he's a guy who I noticed from TikTok talking about his wife, Nicole, who's on the show as well and a successful businesswoman, about menopause, and in a really funny way. And he's often sort of like hiding in a closet or saying like she's mental. I met Matt Haycox in Dubai, is friends with him. He said, why don't you talk to him? He fixed me up. Now, I recorded this at the end of January, and then my father died, and I completely lost the plot, and I didn't do my podcast for a while. I think you guys will still get something from it. I hope you'll hear what I heard, which is just such a sweet, supportive guy who just really also is hilarious. And I think if we could all have a man like this in our lives, menopause and perimenopause and all of it would be a lot better. I was really impressed by him, and it really filled my heart with joy. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Joe Sealey. How are you?
I'm very good, Anne-Marie. Thank you for having me.
I'm very grateful to Matt Haycox for suggesting that I talk to you. You were just in Dubai, and I was on his podcast, and I know that name, and I know a bit about this, The Real Housewives of Cheshire. Very little, because I'm not in the UK. I don't get that, but I just thought, I want to know what's going on here. So, and I want everyone else to know what's going on here. So, okay, basically you and your wife, Nicole Sealey, are on the show, The Real Housewives of Cheshire, but that's just the very beginning of the story. So what I want to know is, how did you become the TikTok menopause man?
I don't actually know. I can tell you how it began, which is probably the only thing that I do know. We was in the car one day, and I was driving to a meeting with her, and we were early. So I thought, she's in such a bad mood. I'll tell you what I thought. I know what I'll do. I'll take her to Nando's. That'll cheer her up. All right, some food. And it was raining outside. So, and the car park was busy. So I pulled up outside the restaurant and said, like, don't get wet, you get out and go in. And at the time I was thinking, please get this woman away from me. And as she got out of the car, she went to me, you used to be nicer to me, and shut the door. I then drove a mile away and walked back in the rain. And I picked my phone up and I said something like, does anybody know of a help group for men living with women with the menopause? Because blah, 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 blah. And then told the story. And I wasn't even on TikTok until that day. And I think that first video got 1 million hits. And then I started just talking about it. And then I did something once and I went, it's time for the menopause update. And someone who makes Cheshire Housewives said to me, you need to keep doing that. You need to keep doing that before you say it, before you start.
Right.
And that's how it's become.
The hook. You need the hook.
Yeah. You need the hook. And the other thing is she also has to be doing it. I could make it up, I suppose, but I don't. So it's whatever's real at the time.
Okay. Do you usually grab your phone and when she's done something kind of mental, you
not in front of her. I mean, as I said before, like she never knew I was doing it on TikTok because she's not on TikTok for about 6 months. Okay,
so how did it come out?
Somebody was in the hairdressers and they said, have you seen these videos your husband's doing? Actually, she doesn't really like stuff like that, my wife. Although she's on a TV show, she is quite private. And it was a thing. But then when you start going through my comments, people find it so helpful. Because I suppose I was putting it into, I'm not a medic, I'm a businessman, I'm a normal person. And I was just putting it across as I was seeing it. And some things I take the piss out of. And and it's the way of, I suppose, a bit of humour, keep it light, helps me, helps us, helps other people.
Was she angry with you?
Yeah, first of all, she was, yeah. A little bit. She's like, what is this? And then I said, look at it, go through it. And like some of it she laughed at, some of it she thought was funny, and other things she thought, I'm going to kill you. But it was helpful.
And what about the community? Like, what about the response? Who is watching the videos and what are they saying?
So this is interesting. This, and I actually did a video the other week where I called them the dying demographic. So my demographic is 95% women, 40 to death. it's all menopausal women following, which I was really surprised about. And then I have some men. They have other 5% of men generally married to women in the menopause, and I call them the menopause survivors. But yeah, and a lot of it's like, oh, I do that, and I feel sorry for Ken or whoever their husband is, and I'm going to show him this and stuff like that.
So people have a good sense of humor about being in menopause and perimenopause, right? Like they can spot themselves in what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, perimenopause, I think I started doing this when she was in the menopause. Perimenopause, I think we found quite scary.
Ah.
I think at the time. And I wish I was doing it then, but I wasn't.
Okay, talk about that a little bit, because you know the difference, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about it.
Well, she was already finished perimenopause by the time we found out she was in perimenopause. I actually thought she was going mad.
Same.
I thought
a lot of women our age, I'm older than she is, but a lot of us didn't know what was happening. So yeah, can you talk about that? Why you found it scary and what happened?
Yeah, I thought she was going mad. I thought she was going mad. So her basically, when she used to have PMT, she is the worst PMT of any person I've ever met in my life, especially in her 30s. And I was always like, I'm going to go and live at my mum's for 4 days a month when you're having your period. And I found that perimenopause was like that, but all of the time.
Right.
But we didn't know she was in it, and because she got a lot of brain fog then, she doesn't get in there, and her dad's got dementia. And I started thinking, you're getting dementia, because she'd be saying things to me like, oh, you know him, where we saw him over there. And I was like, what? The kids? Like one of the kids. She can't remember anyone's name. She couldn't remember dates, what she was done, who she was talking about. And I was getting really worried about her. And her mood, she put weight on, which bothered her. It didn't bother me. She just felt, I think she felt so unsure about her body. So eventually, she's not one of them. She never goes to the doctors, but because of her dad, I said, come on, like we're going to go to the doctors. Let's have some blood tests and see that you're okay. Because if you're going to get dementia, we need to do stuff about it now. Because I really did think she was getting it. And then when we went, the blood come back and said, oh no, you've just gone through perimenopause and you're well into your way of the menopause now. And actually the brain fog has stopped. You know, she doesn't get that now, but it was all of the time.
Wow. So that was the worst. That was the worst thing that you noticed.
Yeah. And how she felt in her body, how tired she was. I think your marriage changes. And I think that's quite scary, because you start thinking, does he love me? Does he love me still? Does she love me? What's going on? You know, you're more irritable, so you're arguing more, you're not talking about it. I mean, communication is key in any relationship. But in this especially, I found it very helpful.
How long would you say that went on? Sorry.
I think a good 2 years.
Okay.
From start to finish, a good 2 years. And there was some periods in the middle where it was just, I didn't recognize my wife.
Did you talk to your friends about it?
No, because what men do, especially in England, I've noticed that there's a correlation between men that stand in the pub on like a midweek in a circle, I call them the gaggle of men, all going, my wife's driving me mad. And they're all 45 and over. You don't get anyone in their 20s doing that.
Okay.
And I think that's what men do. I think we go away from the situation to moan about the situation.
Right.
Instead of actually talking about it or trying to find out what's going on. You're like, oh my God, she's doing this, she's doing that. And I think it's unhelpful for her and unhelpful for the husband as well.
Do you guys know? Like, do you guys talk about, because I know men have joked about it for a long time. Like they know, but to put two and two together, and do they discuss it with each other?
People discuss it with me now.
Yeah.
Because of that. But no, I don't think so. I think one of the biggest problems has been historically is that women of older generations and men didn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had somebody tell me a little while ago that their grandmother still never told their grandfather that she's not having a period anymore, that she's in the menopause.
Yeah.
And that when you say stuff like that, and you think actually this is where the stereotypes come from, because I think I've got friends that are like this. The wife thinks that he's going to leave me because I'm not attractive anymore. I can't have children, and potentially that's the man does do that, in certain cases. So they don't communicate it.
Yeah.
It just kills you.
Did you know I also have a Substack? That's just a fancy way of saying I have a newsletter. But listen, it's not like every other newsletter. I am the only journalist in the world who's made menopause my beat. And each week I share research, news, products, tips, and tricks from the world of menopause and midlife. Sometimes I even write an essay. Hotflash Inc. on Substack is where I pull together everything that's here and in the menosphere, and I break it down just for you, so that we can try and make sense of it all and figure out what to do together in real time. Join more than 5,000 women practitioners, CEOs, and more, and become a subscriber today. You can get my podcast as well as special video and audio drops you can't get anywhere else. Sign up today at hotflashinc.substack. And from a man's perspective, I always say the first symptom of perimenopause is denial, because even if I had known about it, I didn't want to be in it, because to me, menopause was something I thought would happen when I was 60 and I was kind of going to be old and no one would want me. So I just wonder, like, what do men think about it? Like, does it matter to you that she doesn't have her period anymore and she's not fertile? Like, does that, when you love a woman, does it make any difference?
It made no difference to me whatsoever, but we got 3 children. I can't comment. She says it would make a difference if we didn't have children, but I can't comment on that because I don't live in that situation. But I really do love my wife. She's the most important thing to me in the world, and whether she's having a period or not, I don't think about one. I don't think about the other. It's life. And it's just another thing in your
We were
marriage.
already together. Like, if you'd met her and she was going through menopause and you wanted children, obviously probably wouldn't choose to pursue the relationship.
I think you'll find that women think like that. Men don't. I don't think men go, oh, I can't. I found this woman I really like her, I really love her, but no, I can't pursue it because she can't have kids. Because by that point you're probably 40s, 50s anyway. And if you haven't had kids, you're probably going to go, marry someone younger and do that route. But I don't think if you meet the right person, it even comes into the conversation for me. But maybe it does.
No, I think I agree with you. Like, I thought that. And then I turned 50 and I made a video on my 50th birthday. And because you just always, society tells you that you're losing when you're a woman and you're getting older, right? And that's kind of the message that you get. But I remember I made this video and I did this stupid dance and I tagged it, "This is 50." And I had so many DMs from men that I was like, okay, something's going on here. Like, and that's where I started to think that maybe this is something that we're told men think, but maybe men don't actually think.
I don't think we think it now. As much as I think we'd like to pretend we're deep thinkers into all this, men, I don't think we are. Especially with my wife, I will live in like the day, the minute, the hour. She's living in the whole of the last 10 years of, something I did wrong 8 years ago, get brought up at any moment, at any time. Do you remember when you broke that? Or do you remember when you did the dishwashers or you didn't pick me up from the airport? And I don't even know what she's talking about, but she remembers all that stuff.
And your wife is she's a very successful businesswoman and a mother. She's built a whole company and very accomplished woman. So what have you noticed the difference between when she passed into menopause? Because you're still making the videos. I'm
still making the video. And what I see is it changes. And I think the knowledge of knowing you're in the menopause was such a powerful day, because all of the stuff you're worrying about has gone, because she had cancer as well. She had an hormonal cancer, Nicole, in her 20s. So all this stuff was going on, and all that goes, and that stress goes, and you just live with it like you live with your wife. It's no different. We're all complicated creatures, and it's just another part of your life and your marriage and your momentum together. But sometimes there's things going on, and I just go, what the fuck's that? Like, because we have that type of relationship, where I think we have a type of marriage where there is no conversation or nothing that's that bad that we can't take the piss out of each other or say it. We laugh. And I think the laughing gets rid of all that, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
Because the heat, there's so many different symptoms. And she said so many different types of them. I mean, I keep, from itchy ears to irritable legs, hot flushes, tiredness. She said the same as most people have. And one day they're there, the itchy head, she gets that really bad.
Oh, I get that too.
Oh, she hates that one. She hates that one. I call it the Exorcist. That's the Exorcist. No, that's the ape. Sorry, that's an ape. She does that. She's like an ape.
The ape.
Yeah, that's the ape. But no, I think it's just helping each other to understand what's going on for you. Because listen, she's not perfect. She doesn't go, oh, I feel really hormonal today. That's not how it comes out. It would be great if it did, because then I could just go for a coffee somewhere. It doesn't. It comes at me as I walk through the front door.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get my mop. You remember the 2 meter rule? Get back. Got to keep her 2 meters away at all times.
What has she done to help her symptoms? Like, has she gone the hormone therapy route, or?
She can't do anything like that because of the cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was off the table for her. She did try it. She shouldn't have tried it. She decided she wanted to try it. She tried it for about a week, and she just started to bleed. So like that was scary. And then so I said, well, you're not doing that anymore. Why are you doing that? So that stopped. I think with Nicole, in all honesty, she's that person that doesn't go and get it sorted out. There's a big cupboard full of tablets and things that she's bought in herbal shops, and all of these potions that have never been opened that are in there that are meant to help with irritable legs and sleeping and all of that. But I found, I tried to find a male version of treatment for every symptom. if you know what I mean. I think, well, that'll help if I do that, or let's do this and it'll help that, and stuff like that. And sometimes she doesn't want to hear my treatments.
I do love, I've heard you offer her a cake it's nice. I think it's really nice. And walking is actually one of like a really evidence-based way in menopause. Like I think they did a survey of 91 studies, and they found really high efficacy for improving menopause symptoms. And I mean, everything is better after a walk, right? You just shift.
Everything. It shifted your mood, your endorphins have moved. It's good for you anyway. She suffers with a bit of joint pain as well, and she's never, although my wife looks incredible, believe it or not, I've been with her 20 years. I think I've seen her go to the gym once. She doesn't do anything. So walking for her was like a form of exercise. And a couple of times, like during lockdown, she's doing 2-3 hours a day because it just helped her mood.
Right. The Real Housewives of Cheshire did a documentary, like a special on menopause. Can you talk about how that kind of came about? You guys were on it.
Yeah, well, I personally think they ripped my TikTok off. They deny it. It's just a coincidence that it was put together about 6 months after I started. It was an opportunity that come up. Every year we kind of, the last few years they've done a different type of show, but with some of the cast. This year we just done Pride. They did a cruising one the year before. I wasn't on that, and then we did the menopause. And it was really interesting because what we met doing that was a wide range of women with so many different stories. I mean, we met a 14-year-old girl that had the menopause, which unfortunately they didn't show because they thought it was a bit heavy for what they wanted to make. But when you listen to that stuff and what she's gone through and all these different women, all the different journeys, all the different jobs, all the different kids and all different stuff, and some people's husbands have left them, and some people's marriages are okay, and this happens and that happens, and you go, I didn't realize what a big thing it was. Is the truth. Even before the menopause show, it just taught me so much. So, especially the other men in our cast, they knew less than me because by that point I'd learned a bit by women really communicate. The only way I've learned is women have communicated with me via TikTok. That's all. I've not read anything.
Yeah.
And I've got to do things like I wore a menopause vest for 24 hours, like one of the first ones in the world. That gives you the symptoms of a woman for 24 hours. Now,
the menopause, yeah.
You're never gonna feel this, Joe. You're never, and it's probably true, but it is not nice getting hot randomly throughout the day.
No, it's not.
It was horrendous, actually. And she's getting that a lot at the moment. And it was just that brought my awareness, that show, to, oh my God, this is actually like killing people. Like it's deadly serious. And we get a doctor on there, and he was explaining that, I found this really interesting actually. Women are still going into the menopause at the same age as they were 200 years ago. But they now believe the first human that will live to 250 is currently breathing. So the average age is well over 80 now, but women are still having menopause at, let's say, 40 to 50. So you've got to live now for a lot longer with the ailments that are going to be caused by your menopause, and we need to adapt to that. And when he was telling me this, I was sitting there thinking, this is really serious. Like, nature ain't going to change, but we're living longer because of food, hormone, all this different stuff, medical care. But if we don't do something and educate ourselves on what's going to be happening to our bones in this, or to our wife's bodies or her body, she's going to have huge problems in later life, and it's going to get worse. And I found that so interesting when I was on that show, and it was just more educational. And I think it was received really well on TV because I think it's real. The show we're on is a reality show, and it's real, but it's a very glamorized show. The menopause is the menopause.
I am so impressed because so many people say, oh, we used to die at 50. And that's why it's so bad, because now we're living past 50, and it's not true. Like and you really nailed it with the help of that doctor. Is like, it's kind of like, it's been described as an evolutionary mismatch. Like, we're just living longer, and a lot of stuff is going on in our environment that may have sort of made it worse. And we're hearing, I brought a lot of things into my perimenopause, and I sort of compare it to, like, when you start losing those hormones, it's sort of like the tide going out on a beach and leaving a bunch of garbage there. And then you got to kind of clean up the garbage. Like, I brought a lot of things into my perimenopause, overwork and gut issues and whatever. I wondered if you thought that Nicole had any of that, like she worked really hard, or she, having cancer when she was young, like the stress and trauma of that, if any of those things might have played a part.
I think that the cancer played it. Her mum went into the menopause. She went into the menopause about 42, Nicole. But her mum did as well. So for her, I think that, and she started a period early. I think she was 11. And whether that doesn't affect, people debate that. But I think a part of it was her having a hormonal cancer and the effect on her body when she was young, and also part of its nature and just her genes. I think from her mum. But I think your stress levels will go up when you're in the menopause. I think because of being tired, achy, and everything else, and your brain's functioning differently. You got a lot more going on than you realise. And there was a period when I said to her, "Don't make any decisions, like at work," because I was getting really worried about decision making, because it was. My wife can be quite volcano-y anyway. Like, she's quick to explode and quick to calm down. And I was thinking people are going to start getting sacked, and she's going to do things that she's going to really regret. I mean, she didn't listen to me. I could see it coming. And I do it sometimes now. It's not often, but like every so often, I will literally take her phone off her and go, stop. You can, I mean, I'm not doing it in a bullying way. You can have it back in 5 minutes. But you need to breathe, because she doesn't do that. She doesn't go, I've got to reply to this message. I'm going to give it a few hours because he's really annoying me. She goes, boom, 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 boom. And then just put it down for 5 minutes. We'll have some tea.
Nice.
I will, distract you. And then you'll make a better decision. Now, it's like all advice, isn't it? We don't follow normally good advice, especially when we're in a bad mood.
Yeah, that's a great thing to offer as a partner.
I'm sure she finds it really annoying, but yeah.
What's your advice for men who are dealing with this kind of thing?
I think the number one piece of advice is to communicate. And if that means like sitting down together and going, well, what's going on? I need to know. I'm worrying about that. It's really difficult, because I think you both need to take into account how the other one is feeling and what's going on for the other one. But that's part of your successful marriage. But I can't. The people that I've speak to that haven't made it, is because it seems to me all communication, really. We don't want to hear about it. You don't want to tell us, or you want to tell us we don't hear about it, or we want to know but you don't want to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is, to me, the key to it all. And then finding out what works for you and what doesn't, out of all of the natural treatments, what can you do and what's right and what's rubbish and what's right for you and stuff like that. But communication is number one for me.
I see a lot of people hitting this stage and realizing that they're with a partner that isn't very supportive, and it's a harsh realization. So I can imagine if you were feeling this way and your partner wasn't supportive and you started to think, actually, he's not very supportive overall. And I think that's the reason some relationships end or really, really struggle.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think men can be, listen, I'm not here to say all men are perfect. There's some horrible men out there as well as there is horrible women and human beings. And you can be what you want now. So I think that if you're married to a bastard, you're married to a bastard. Do you know what I mean? So he weren't no good before this. He ain't not going to be no good after it.
Yeah.
But I think what also goes on for women, you might be able to help me here. I think women then perceive, they get to this age, we have this, my husband's going to leave me for a younger woman. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I hear that.
Really?
Yeah. Or, and I don't think that many people do that. I've not even thought about it, but I've heard it. And I think it just becomes a real worrying period in your lives.
I think that's something that you grow up hearing and you worry about. But in reality, I think it's one of those myths because, yes, that happens. And we have high profile examples. But in reality, when you speak to legal firms, it's women who most of the time initiate divorces in midlife.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like I read a report that it was well over 50%. It was a law firm in the UK and they said it's close to 70%. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's, women do end up leaving relationships. And I think this is a time when it happens. The older I get, I feel like there's the things you think and then you start finding out what actually is the real truth. So I don't know. I think that might be something we need to shed, like that fear, because it certainly isn't great to have a relationship when you're living in fear that at a certain age, but I mean, like I told you, I had it too. I thought when I was 50, that'd be over. That'd be it, no more male attention for me. So have you noticed any positive changes in her since she's gone through menopause?
Her boobs are bigger.
Okay, I was thinking spiritual and emotional, but that's okay. That's good. Yeah.
And she sleeps more.
Okay.
No, I'll be honest. I don't think she's, except for perimenopause, if you take that 2 years out, I don't think she's changed very much.
Okay.
As a person, I'm sure she has, but I'm sure I have. She's 50 as well now, nearly. I'm 40. I'm 9 years younger than my wife. I'm 41. She took me out of the playground when she met me because I've been with her a long time. But I think where we've been together for so long, and like there's been periods of my life where I've had problems, like I'm an addict, and she's lived through that, and I think that we've got that relationship where she stood by me through so much stuff that nothing can be as bad as that, if you know what I mean. So it's just another thing to work through, like it's like the kids are. Mm-hmm. Or like, I mean, not like the car breaking down, but okay, you're hot. Yeah, well, you're hot. What can we do about that? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not great that I have all of the windows open and a fan on in the bedroom every month of the year, whether it's snowing or anything. And she makes me lay. She likes the side of the bed that's not next to the window.
Oh,
so I'm on the window side with it open. But if I lay on my side, I'm a window blocker.
Oh.
But I can't lay on my back because I might snore.
Yep.
So I have to lay on my back to a point, and then when she rolls over, then I can roll over. And it's that little, I was like, do you not want us to sleep next to the window? No, I've never slept that side. I don't sleep that side. You know, I sleep this side. Oh, okay, darling. You know?
Oh my
But
God.
I find that quite humorous. But, you know, I just find, I go, oh, what's going on? Nicole, what is it like when you can't sleep? How are you able to like explain it and then explain what it's like sleeping next to it? You know, so you've got a serious aspect of it, her like how she's feeling.
Yeah.
And then me on the other side. But we are living it with it. So yes, you know, I find it humorous and I can make jokes out of it, but I am living with it. And if I didn't do that, I don't know what I'd do.
You've been through a lot. You're a former footballer. You struggle with addiction. You've had a lot of ups and downs. And you're 41. A lot of people say men are experiencing andropause, which is the male menopause. Have you had any feelings that you might have low testosterone or any problems sleeping or brain fog yourself?
No, not yet. But I've been hearing more and more and more about it. And I think it is a thing. I think a lot of men now are becoming more open to testing anyway. Like I've had all my bloods done, and I was fine. I have a friend had them done, and he was practically dead. So you know, like unbelievably low levels of everything. And
Matt was telling me all about his testosterone journey too, and he's like very bullish on testosterone therapy.
Matt said to me, because he's been doing it for about 12 months now, that he feels better now dealing with it than he did when he was 20.
Yeah.
You know, and he's probably right, because you're finding the right balance for your body, because we never probably have the correct balance for a long period of time. Again, I think men will go, oh, that's not for me. But your health is so important, and your mood. And it's important for even the working. You know, if I'm tired or I'm not thinking straight, or I'm angry or irritable, I'm too tired, I don't work properly. So no, I haven't come across that yet. My wife might say my mood is sometimes, but medically I'm not. But I do think it is a thing. And when I first heard about it, I thought, I'm going to take the piss out of this. This can't be real. But it definitely is. And I think we all need to be aware of it. And it's part of life. You know, why not deal with it?
Well, I love you guys. I think you're really funny, and I'm really happy that I got to connect with you. Where can people engage with you now?
So I'm on Instagram and I'm on TikTok. I think on Instagram, I'm a bit rubbish at this bit. I'm Joe Sealey on Instagram, and on TikTok, I'm Joe_Sealey1, I think.
Okay.
But if you type menopause man, I come up, or men living with the women with the menopause, I come up as well. You can find me on there, and I just post our journey. Really, she's not in a lot of it. She doesn't know about a lot of them all the time.
It's you hiding in the bathroom when she's.
It's my safety cocoon.
And the show, The Real Housewives of Cheshire, where is that at, and where can people see it?
It's on in 36 countries. It's actually in Canada. Hey You in Canada, I think. America, it's on there. We was on in Russia. I don't know. It's on ITV in England. In Dubai, I think you're on Amazon.
Ah, good. Okay. Well, I have to thank you for talking about this, for showing the example of what a supportive male partner is. Like, I think, you know, that's really meaningful to me. I have never gotten married, and there's just like seeing that is just so like, oh, you know, that exists. And I think for a lot of women, that's why there's so many people are following you, because you're doing it.
My wife's going to hate that you said that. My wife is going to absolutely hate that bit. That would be a bit I just keep playing on repeat in the kitchen.
Okay. I'm happy to furnish you with that clip. Okay. Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Hotflash Inc. was created and is hosted by Anne-Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Anne-Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hotflash Inc. Media.